as I've indicated, the secretary had a technical glitch in the morning, but at least everything now is sorted. Can we observe the moment of silence for meditation or prayer? Thank you very much. There's the agenda, honorable members. Can I get the mover for the adoption of the agenda?
Move, Chair.
Zeki moves. Can I get the seconder?
I second, Chair.
Mr. Malimaja, Honorable Malimaja, second. Thank you very much. Let me not waste your time, honorable members, and allow the secretary to note the apologies.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to the members and to our guest. Chairperson, I received an apology from Mr. Heron, but I can see that now he joined the meeting. I also received a message from Mercy Hluayim and Dr. Mkhize. They will join the meeting later. And also the Minister of Human Settlements is not able to join the meeting. She's out of the country. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Koliswa. Those are the apologies, members. Can we then go into the main agenda of today? We have invited the department with the two entities, the HDA and the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authorities, to come and brief us on the progress that they are making in terms of addressing the matters that were raised by the Auditor General. And then we'll then get the briefings on the on the FLIPS program and how it has been changed. And then we'll then those are the three items that we are going to deal with as we have adopted the agenda. I'm going to take this opportunity to welcome DM and his team, but before that I must indicate, honorable members, that today we're expected to be at the City Hall. So by 12 o'clock, all of us who should then be at the 12:30, the buses will then leave the parliamentary village. So we'll then have to look at if we're not done at that time, the meeting would have to be adjourned. Honorable Powell, I see you say you have raised your hands.
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. Morning, colleagues. Chair, when the Northwest presented to us 2 weeks ago, our committee received an undertaking from the Secretariat that we would receive all reading materials 24 hours in advance. I just want to find out why the HDA presentation was only sent to us last night. It was sent after 7 o'clock last night, so I don't know if that everybody's had a chance to thoroughly interrogate it. Can we please just understand why that 24-hour notice period wasn't stuck to? Thanks, Chair.
Koliswa.
Hello, Chairperson.
Yes.
I've circulated the presentation as soon as I get it, Chairperson.
When?
So it was not that time. As soon as I received it, then I circulated to members.
When?
Let me
When?
double check the time.
Okay. No, I'm just saying, is it within 24 hours?
No, it was yesterday evening, Chairperson.
Okay. GM, can we get an explanation why the...
Good morning, Chair. Good morning to the members of the Portfolio Committee. Let me start by apologizing, Honorable Powell. What makes it late is because Minister always takes the presentation and look at it and take it back for corrections, because we cannot just bring a presentation to the portfolio committee without looking at it as ministry. So we took time to take it back because we went through it and we turned it back quite late. So it will never happen again. Honorable Powell, I apologize. That's the reason why it was sent late. Sorry.
Okay, there's the answer, honorable members. Honorable GM, what we'll do is that the HDA will not be allowed to present because the committee has taken a decision that we should receive the document 24 hours, and then we will organize, we will request the special date, and even if they will be at recess, just to get the members to interact on the presentation, because if the members, they've not received this document within the required time, obviously we're not going to do justice to the presentation. Honorable Powell, your hand is still up.
Thanks, Chair. If we are going to postpone the HDA presentation, can we get an undertaking from you, a timeline, a month, 2 months, by which this presentation will come back to the committee, if it will be still this term? Thanks, Chair.
Okay. What we'll do, Honorable, I won't say tomorrow or next week or what, because we have to apply in terms of the rule, because it will then be outside our our program as submitted to the authorities of Parliament. But as we are saying now, Koliswa is going to make a request from the national chair, even if it's on the recess, will ask members to avail themselves for that constituency week, 1 day, and we'll combine it with the Auditor General presentation that we have postponed. And then but I don't have the exact date, but the commitment is that we must do it within this term, because it was scheduled for this term. Are you fine, Honorable Powell?
Thank you, Chairperson. That's fine.
Thank you. We'll then go to PPRA. Let me apologize to the acting chair, because probably you don't know the procedure when we have to do justice to members. We apologize that we have to send your presentation back. So we'll get a date where you'll be invited to come back and present, and your team, you are released. Let's go to item number 2, which is PPRA. Chair, sorry, DM, proceed.
I will show my face and then switch off again for the network. I have many troubles of network this side, just to see that I'm on the desk sitting, respecting the portfolio committee. Chair, let me start by greeting the members of portfolio committee, and also again apologize to you and also HDA, because it's our fault. And I will go straight to PPRA and NFC, Property Practitioner Regional Committee Authority, led by Chairperson Mr. Stephen Gubeni, that is PPRA, National Housing Financing Corporation, NHFC, led by Chairperson Lutando Vutula. Chair, I will just highlight both entities so that we don't break in between time, because in the interest of time, we want to make sure that we don't break, and I highlight. Then I will go through the highlights so that both of them, they can present after each entity. Chairperson, we've been called by portfolio committee to brief you on the PPRA implementation of the Auditor General recommendations, and the second report on implementation of FLISP Programme. And Chair, quickly on the PPRA, the entity also received a qualified audit opinion with the findings for 2021-2022 financial year. During the presentation, members will note that all findings are work in progress, but with very specific time frames. The members should note that the gap caused by vacant positions of executive employees is equally still work in progress. Most of vacancies have been advertised, recruitment processes have been undertaken, and we are at final stages of filling the vacancies. The outstanding matter is that of the Chief Executive Officer, which is currently at CCMA and therefore cannot be concluded until the legal matters have been finalized. Chair, I will go now to flip straight on implementation of FLISP. The first change that the entity made was with regard to rebranding of FLISP to First Home Finance. The reason for this was that research undertaken by entity indicated that ordinary people do not know or understand the FLISP program. Rebranding the program at First Home Finance, it makes it easier for the intended beneficiaries to understand the meaning of the program, even without having to explain it. The presentation will indicate the number of beneficiaries that have benefited on the FLISP program since 2019 and the amount of subsidy that has been approved. The presentation will also touch on the challenges that are faced by the program. The research conducted on banks and housing developers indicates that persons that earn less than 10,000 are most likely not to be approved for bonds, even with subsidy that the program offers. This is a huge concern for us, honorable members. The presenter will touch on the opinions or recommendations that could bridge the gap. Chair, I did not welcome my team. I have a team with me that is accompanying me. I also, you welcome them, but on my side, I didn't mention them. I'm with the acting DG, and I think acting DG is with the DDGs and the senior officials in this meeting. In the interest of time, Chair, I must go straight to PPRA. Thank you very much, Chair.
PPRA, Chair, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session.
and good morning to everyone. DM, Acting DG, members and colleagues present. I think the DM has done justice in introducing our issues, so I will be very brief and then usher in the Acting CEO. We are here to talk about the audit findings and the implementation of the audit plan for the last financial year. We had about 5 material findings which led to the qualified audit opinion, and we will be tackling those one by one. But what is important for me to say is in relation to the conversation that we had with in the last meeting with the committee members, and that relates to one, the issue of the filling of vacancies of the executives, and two, the issue of the CEO. Then I'll allow the acting CEO to come in. With regards to the vacancies, I must report to the meeting that we have undergone the process of recruitment, and we are at the stage where we have sort of preferred people that we would like to employ. And we have written to the minister to request her concurrence as required in terms of the shareholders' compact, as well as the act that governs the PPRA. The minister has since replied, and there is a need for the board and the minister to engage so that we can clarify certain things to the minister before she is satisfied with the process that we have undertaken. She has raised a couple of concerns that she wants us to discuss, and that will determine whether there is concurrence or there is none. But the process is quite at an advanced stage. I must indicate to you that since the inception of the PPRA, we have now designed and approved the organizational structure for the new entity PPRA. We have taken into consideration the organizational structure of the erstwhile EAAB, and through consultation with the stakeholders, including the minister, we have now an approved organizational structure, which was somewhat a process or a stage that we had to go through before we can even commence with the recruitment process, and that has been finalized. There are also other processes that involve the skills audit of the EAAB or erstwhile EAAB staff members that have been inherited into the PPRA so that they are properly and appropriately placed. And that process is underway. I'm sure the CEO will also speak to that. So the position of the COO, the CFO, and the executives as identified in the new organizational structure, the recruitment process is at an advanced stage, and candidates have been sort of selected through a particular process. Now, you would recall, members, that we had to report to you that we placed the CEO on suspension, and that followed the forensic investigation that was conducted, which in itself was sparked by a request that we received from the Public Service Commission that came as a result of an anonymous complaint. And we have since finalized the forensic report, and there were findings against the CEO and some staff members of the erstwhile EAB. And these findings then suggested that the disciplinary processes should ensue. Amongst others, these findings included the issue of not observing or following policies and procedures when conducting recruitment. And you would realize that this was also a matter identified by the Auditor General, and hence when we report, we indicate that we have actually already started to address other processes. People that had to be disciplined are disciplined, and some have even received their sanctions. So the processes since then, with regards to the suspension of the CEO, have culminated in a situation where the board had to terminate the relationship between the PPRA and the then CEO. We have been challenged in courts by the erstwhile CEO, and we have fortunately received the favor of the courts. The rulings were in our favor. That means the decision that was taken by the board was not overturned by the courts. However, there is one challenge where she is challenging the so-called unlawful dismissal, and she is doing that through the CCMA, and the hearing is underway. We have nonetheless, as the board, taken a decision because we've already terminated and we have been affirmed by two courts to proceed and advertise and recruit for the new CEO. In the meantime, we have appointed an acting CEO, and I want to take the pleasure of introducing her to you, a real estate agent in her own right, a young person, a woman who is quite determined and enthusiastic, who has been given an acting privilege for 3 months, and in that 3 months we are indeed beginning to experience things changing and things moving forward. And her name is Tato Ramaile Miss. She will be presenting to you today the issue of the audit findings and the implementation of the audit plan. So, in a nutshell, that's my introduction to the presentation. I will be here for the questions. Chair, allow me to invite the acting CEO to proceed with the presentation from here. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson. I'm unable to share the screen. I don't know if it will be flighted from your end.
So give them their rights.
Thank you.
Okay, Chair. You can go on.
Whilst we wait, I'd like to greet the Chairperson, the Deputy Minister, Acting DG, colleagues and members on this call.
You are now a co-host. You can flag the presentation.
Colleagues, as the Chairperson has introduced, we will be focusing and zooming in on the material findings for the 2021-2022 year, and also the action plan that we have undertaken. This and also the status on the high vacancy rate and then other human resource issues. The first material finding, this one, it is a classification matter, and it is a misstatement in completeness of receivables from exchange transactions. Just a little bit of background. So from inception of the PPRA, the debtors book never really classified whether the debtors were exchange or non-exchange transactions as required by the generally recognized accounting practice, so GREP. So then last year, the AG did pick up that this was not the case. And this is the crux of this material finding emanates from the system not having been configured from exception to extrapolate these transactions. So the team is currently busy with splitting these transactions from exchange to non-exchange. So for example, what would constitute an exchange transaction would be the issuance of FFCs, but then the penalties, which I will touch on in the following slides, would then constitute what we call a non-exchange transaction. That for the 2021-2022 year, the splitting of this age analysis between debtors balance is complete. The finance team is just in the process to finalize the 2023 debtors age analysis debtors book, and the timeline for this completion is April 30th. There's reason being we have to wait for the end of the financial year, which is March 31st, 2023, to have a comprehensive and complete data to enable the team then to finalize this extrapolation of the debtors book. The next material finding, it is around the revenue from non-exchange portion of penalties that are incorrectly recorded in the current year. And this is the one that I touched on previously. So the accruing of penalties as stipulated in the legislation is that the PPRA we can accrue penalties for a maximum of 3 years. So the challenge here, which also emanated from the system, was after the 3 years, the system was continuing to charge these penalties post the 3-year maximum year as stipulated and prescribed by the legislation. So what AG picked up was exactly this. And the penalties are, registers are continuing to be maintained in Excel, which is labor and manual driven. And we are looking to procure the ERP system, the Enterprise Resource Planning System. And this will be the estimate and timeline for this procurement is August 30th of this year, as stipulated on the slide. The next material finding is around the inventories, the existence of inventory and thereof. So during the previous audits, the AG picked up that there were some inventories that did not exist. So what the AG has asked is that for this year, they would like to come and observe the finance team when they're doing the stock count on the 31st of March 2023, which is the financial year end, so that when the inventory count is conducted, the physical count on the floor will then be verified to match that it is the same as captured by the current system. And then if the AG requires to do spot counts, they will also do that. And then the finalization for this as well is the 31st of March, which is when the AG will be present to observe. The next material audit finding is around administrative findings. And as the chairperson alluded earlier, it has to do with two factors. I'll touch on the second one, which had to do with the recruitment policy that had to be revised to include explicit controls and guidelines for the recruitment process as specified in the policy. On last week, Friday, on the 17th, the management did have a policy workshop with the remuneration or HR subcommittee, and they had their input, and together with the amendments that they put forward, this policy will then be tabled before the board on Friday, the 21st of March. So we will be able to close this finding. The second finding is around the human resource management and the high vacancy rate. Colleagues, if you recall the introduction of the PPA, the Act came in promulgation on the 1st of February last year, 2022, and it has brought about changes to the organization and has expanded the mandate of the PPRA, particularly around transformation, and then secondly, around new entrants into the sector. So previously under the EAB, the PPRA or EAB only regulated real estate agents. But then now with the new introduction of the PPA, we have included new entrants such as auctioneers, homeowners associations, managing agents, timeshares, and so forth. So in responding to the expanded mandate, the organizational structure was reviewed and redesigned to ensure that effective migration to the PPRA. This migration process involved consultations with internal staff and the union, which is NEHAWU for the PPRA, and they were invited to make inputs from the 9th of May last year, and there were several consultations that were had between themselves and management. The proposed structure was tabled before the board around July 2022, and amendments were recommended by the board, which were then effected by management with further consultations of the staff and the union members. Subsequently, the organizational structure was approved by the board and then later was approved by the Minister of Human Settlements. And then upon approval of this organizational structure, critical positions were identified and were subsequently advertised both internally and externally late last year. Post the ads, the union did raise concerns around the positions that were advertised, but around September 2022, an urgent meeting was attended by the chairperson of the board, the HR committee, and the PPRA management to clarify some of the issues that were raised in relation to the advertisements. And the new PPRA structure has created 68 new positions, thus creating more job opportunities. These new positions are over and above the 107 existing positions and the 28 that were previously vacant positions. So in total, the new PPRA structure consists of 203 positions. So on the next slide, I am just highlighting and showing, before I proceed, I just wanted to just reiterate that the next slide that I will be sharing will focus on the 6 positions, executive and management positions, because as the chairperson mentioned earlier, the CFO and the COO roles are still, we're still awaiting concurrence from the minister, but we anticipate that this entire process will be concluded around the 30th of April 2023, should there be no changes or further requirement from us, from ministry. So the positions that were advertised were the Chief Information Officer, Chief Corporate Support Services, Manager of the Property Sector Transformation, the Manager of the Property Sector Research, the Executive Manager of Licensing, and the Executive Manager of Investigation and Enforcement. And the dates, the advertisements went out on the 4th of September with the closing date, the 18th. There was an erratum on the 6th of November, following obviously that was also a result of the consultations that were had that raised some positions that were advertised, so that an erratum had to be published in the newspapers and also internally. And then the closing date was this 20th of November, 2022. And then I just mentioned the dates in which the interview process took place and when the individuals and the executive are expected to resume their roles at the PPRA. The CEO role, I will not touch on it since it was highlighted earlier, but the next CCMA case has been set down on the 25th of April to deal with the issues that are raised by my predecessor. So I am recommending that the Portfolio Committee for Human Settlement note the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. You want to close the presentation?
Thank you, Chair. I hope I am visible again. I think we have covered everything that we needed to cover. We will await questions from the members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Tato, can you remove the presentation?
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes, can we go to the second presentation?
Good morning, Chairperson. I'm assuming the second presentation is NHFC, and my name is Luke. Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Maybe greetings to the Chairperson, to the honorable members, to DM, acting DG, colleagues. My name is, as I've said, Lutando Wutula. I'm the Chairperson of the NHFC. We've been asked, Chairperson, to come and give a progress report on FLISP or FES. I have with me is the CEO, and I would like to welcome and maybe also introduce our new CEO, Azola Mayegiso, who started on the 1st of March as our new CEO at NHFC. This is, if I'm not mistaken, her first meeting, I think, with the Portfolio Committee. And also we have Jabulani, who is the program manager of FLISP. And as the DM has explained, we had a launch of the new name some 3-4 weeks back, which was exceptionally successful in Johannesburg in one of the projects. And also they will talk about the progress and I think the interest that we've seen, I think, since the rebranding, since the launch of the new name and the program itself. I am going to, Chairperson, also I had my hand earlier when you started the meeting because I did want to apologize, Chair. Unfortunately, you know, I do have a meeting at 10 o'clock that unfortunately I could not move when I got to know about this meeting, which was a bit late, I think 2 days ago. So I am going to ask to be excused, Chairperson, at 10 o'clock. But as I've said, I have two able colleagues, the CEO as well as the program manager of FLISP. And they will then talk about, you know, the launch, the new name, as the DM has said, you know. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. I think your apology is noted. Let's proceed. The CEO.
Thank you very much, Chair of the Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements.
You are welcome. I'm told you are new. You are
Yes.
welcome, Portfolio Committee. Yes, okay. Can we see your face?
Oh dear.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, let's try to do that. I'm not sure. Can you see me? I can't see myself, so I'm not sure if you can see me.
Yes, we can.
Yes,
thank
we
you
can
very
see.
much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks to the Chairman of the National Housing Finance Corporation as well for that kind introduction. Greetings to everyone on the call, the Deputy Minister, the Acting DG. I've already greeted you, Chair, and all members of the committee, of the Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We are here, myself and the executive for subsidy facilitation will be delivering this presentation from the NHFC this morning. And really, you know, we would like to talk about the implementation of FLISP thus far and the successes that we have attained in the MTSF period ending in 2024. So we will give you a sense of how the program has performed over well, to date for that 5-year period that is under measurement. And we will give you a picture of how we are faring for this current financial year. We'll give you a report, you know, sort of a year-to-date report to the end of December, as well as, you know, some detailed, you know, performance for all the quarters, all 3 quarters of the financial year to the end of December. We'll cover for the Portfolio Committee also, you know, challenges that are faced with the first home finance target market, as well as, you know, and I think the core of today's presentation is to really appraise the committee with respect to our proposed, you know, improvements to the first home finance product for noting. And then, you know, we will also take you through what improvements we have done on our side with respect to making the process of applying for first home finance a lot easier for our target market. Okay, just to remind the committee with respect to what this product is. So really what it is it's a once-off housing subsidy that enables qualifying beneficiaries to buy or build their homes on an affordable basis. It was launched quite a while ago, in 2005, in fact, by the Department of Human Settlements. So, you know, the predecessor to the current National Department of Human Settlements that long ago. And really its core purpose was to facilitate affordable first-time home ownership for South African citizens, as well as legal permanent residents. The target beneficiaries are really people, South African citizens and legal permanent residents that earn between 3,501 Rand up to a cap of 22,000 Rand a month, a market that we dub the gap market. So, you know, just so you understand, you know, the predicament of individuals in these salary bands, they typically obviously earn too much to be able to qualify for the government free basic house subsidy scheme. So the BNG or RDP housing, they earn too much money to be able to qualify for that, because as we know, the cap for that is for people that earn below 3,500 Rand per month. However, they earn too little to be able to qualify for housing finance for the housing units that are currently available in the market. So the subsidy amount works on a sliding scale, which is very much dependent on household income, wherein the people that earn lower, that are in the lower income brackets, get the highest subsidy that is available. In other words, people that are in that 3,501 bracket will qualify for the highest possible subsidy at 130,505 Rand. And those that earn to the maximum cap of 22,000 will then qualify for 30,000 Rand. Okay, now I'm just going to take you through how we are tracking with respect to the current MTSF period, which runs for a 5-year period, 2019 to 2024. And what we've highlighted here, I think maybe just to remind everyone that the sector, for the total sector, the first home finance units target is actually placed at 20,000. And by the end of the third quarter of the financial year 2022-2023, the sector had actually delivered 18,720 of those units. And also, just for your benefit, the NHFC's actual contribution, towards that total target is earmarked at 13,234 units. And what we've contributed thus far on a cumulative basis is 9,063, disbursements for these beneficiaries. So, we're quite confident that the MTSF target will be met at a total sector level, as we are currently at 94% of the target to the end of December 2022. And obviously, we've got up until the end of March 2024 to be able to reach the 100% target. If we look at the granular detail in the top table, then the number of first home finance applications that we have approved total 10,808, and that compares to the number of subsidies that we've already dispersed at 9,063, as I already highlighted. And then if you just note that the value of approvals sits at 631 million for the period to end December, and the value of disbursements sits at 479 million Rand. And the amount that has been leveraged from financial institutions on the back of obviously funding these subsidized mortgage applications, that sits at 5.3 billion Rand to the end of the period. So what we believe, is going to happen, because thus far these numbers that we're reporting here are really in as far as the mortgage product is concerned. So in other words, it's subsidies on the back of successful mortgage applications that the beneficiaries have submitted. And we believe that we will see a significant improvement once we launch the non-mortgage products, both in urban and rural areas. We really believe that the value of the approvals as well as disbursements are going to be a lot higher, because as we already said, or rather as the Deputy Minister intimated earlier, the people that earn less than 15,000 Rand have typically battled to actually secure mortgages. There's quite a high rejection rate. I think it's reported at 66% for people in the income segments that are below 15,000 Rand. Okay, and then this is just a detailed look at the current financial year to the end of December 2022. And here I would just like to highlight, what is contained in that annual target column, and we're going to compare that to what has been actually achieved. So if you look at the third column from the extreme right, under the heading year to date, we're going to look at the actuals there, because that's actual delivery for the year in comparison to the actual target, annual target number in that first column. If we look at it, we see that the number of applications that have been approved, we are trailing behind with respect to meeting that annual target by 1,519 for the financial year. The value of approvals, similarly, we're sitting at 211 as compared to the target, which is 478, meaning we're trailing behind by 267 million rand with respect to the value of approvals. Value of disbursements, similarly, we're trailing behind by 196 million there compared to the annual target. The number of subsidies that have been dispersed, we managed to disperse 3,100 in comparison to the annual target of 3,824, trailing behind by 724. And then the annual target, which is the amount that we intended to leverage from third-party financial institutions, was 1.9 billion rand. We managed to do 1.7 billion for the financial year, certainly to end of that third quarter, which means we're trailing by 180 million rand. So I think I've already made the point around the fact that this reported performance is based on mortgage loans, and that we expect to see improvement both in the value of approvals and disbursements once, the non-mortgage products of this, umbrella product have been accessed by households in lower income brackets. Okay, that's the other detail is just for noting of the portfolio committee members. And then here, this is just to remind you that there are 91 different income bands, for the beneficiaries of this program. And we've just highlighted that obviously, as you can see, it works on a sliding scale, where the lower income brackets, people that earn, lowly at the bottom of the pyramid, this program actually benefits them the most. This is just to remind you of how this all works and why we believe that, with the increased access, once the implementation guidelines for the non-mortgage products have been approved, we will then be able to facilitate access of the higher quantums, of this program, because then the people that will be applying for assistance, not for mortgages, but for the rest of the products that Mr. Vilakazi is going to take you through later on, we will then begin to see, firstly, a higher approval, higher approvals in terms of our, what we are targeting with respect to that, as well as higher disbursements, because the amounts are going to be a lot higher than has been presently reported, because really we are benefiting people currently that are only access from 60,000 Rand downward in terms of the quantum of the subsidy that goes towards, supporting their applications. I think at this point then, I will hand over to my colleague who is the executive for grant facilitation at the NHFC, Mr. Jabulani Vilakazi. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, CE, and thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and members, and greetings to all colleagues who are on this platform. Just to confirm that my name is Jabulani Vilakazi, not Vilakazi. Just a correction. Yeah, but this table here comes from the National Credit Regulators report. They issue Consumer Credit Market Report. I'm not going to repeat what the DM indicated in terms of the challenges pertaining to households earning below 15,000 to access a subsidy, because they have been struggling to access a mortgage as well. Less than 2% of mortgages granted during this period went to households earning below 15,000. I mean, the CE has also highlighted that. But I think from this report as well, what we picked up was that there is an indication of high levels of indebtedness, because if you look at the rejection rates, they hover around 66 to 68%. So that is a challenge. I think another observation that we made from the report was that the majority of mortgages granted are for houses costing above 700,000. So this is a pointer of the challenges around the available affordable housing stock. So if you can proceed, see to the next slide. I think basically what are the key challenges that this subsidy is seeking to address. One, as we have already indicated, people in lower income brackets have struggled to access the subsidy precisely because they can't access a mortgage. That will go for people in urban areas in the main, and then in rural areas, even if your income is higher, you still can't access a subsidy in the past because you could not access a mortgage. So therefore, you miss the opportunity to access subsidy. And then there's also an observation around the rising cost of building materials, which actually is pushing up, the prices for the affordable housing stock. So this is a challenge for our target market. I think in general, as we've indicated, if you look at the high rejection rates, that points to high levels of indebtedness in our target market. And it's something that we are concerned about because there are many people who are missing opportunity to access adequate housing because of that reason. Next slide, see. Now, if we look at the first home finance, we believe that the expansion of housing finance products with which first home finance can be implemented opens up, I would say, the playing field, if you like, because now for the first time, people in rural areas and in the lowest, income bands of the market will be now able to access the subsidy, because when they access unsecured housing loans, they can now apply for a subsidy. Pension-backed loans, they can apply for a subsidy. In the main, these housing finance products are accessed by people in the lower income brackets of our target market. We say this confidently because as NHFC, as an example, we have intermediaries who are lending, providing incremental loans in rural areas and urban areas. And then those loans in the majority are accessed by people in these lower income brackets. I think apart from that, we also observe that the policy as revised and approved by the minister opens up opportunity for employers who have employer-asset housing scheme and who are keen to assist their employees to be decently housed or adequately housed to also, access this subsidy. So as a result of that, we are engaging with various private sector employers, so that we can partner with them to assist their employees to access adequate housing. Government employee housing scheme is a key market. We'll show later the numbers there. We have signed MOU with the PSA to assist, the government employees to access this subsidy because, as members will recall, they also get housing allowance, which is saved for them when they access their homes, and then they are able then to draw money from the savings that is actually built over time through these housing allowances. But I think the big game changer here, as we have indicated, is that this subsidy will be for the first time accessed by households who want to build in rural areas. And for them, basically, they will need to produce permission to occupy, which is issued by a traditional authority. And this PTO actually will be confirming that the land on which they are building their homes is uncontested. They have a right to build their homes there. Still, those who are in urban areas can then produce title deeds. People can use the subsidy as well, to buy service stands, like in the RGPs and so on. So I think these new products that have been added, to the subsidy, in addition to mortgage finance, open the field widely in terms of the subsidy being able to reach the targeted, market. We can proceed, see. Now, as I've indicated, in terms of the improvements, as we've said, the new housing finance products actually enable us to broaden as well as deepen the reach, of the subsidy program throughout, the country. Lower income brackets able to access subsidy no matter where they want to build their homes, and also households in rural areas being able to access subsidy, to build, their homes. Importantly, I know that the Honorable Minister's, one of her priorities is eradication of mud houses. We believe that people or households in our income bracket are able to access subsidy, take home loans, whether it's unsecured or pension backed, and be able to build, quality houses. We are saying quality houses because we are also working with the NHBRC, because the policy is very clear that all these subsidized houses need to be enrolled with NHBRC, so that the quality of those houses can be assured. I think another important improvement is looking at how do we then work with community-based organizations like property stock files, so that their members are able to access the subsidy. Because as we know, stock files will tend to lend money to their members only, and then they will be able to access the subsidy, something that did not happen in the past. I think another a key improvement is that there might be people who want actually to buy a home, but are not able to do so. So there's an option of rent to own agreements being actually implemented with the subsidy. So there are players, even though they are currently few in the country, but who are in that space, and then we'll be working with them as well to assist their clients. Another critical improvement, Chairperson and members, is that in the past, to apply for the subsidy, you will have to fill in an application form, scan that and email it to NHFC, or you actually come to the NHFC offices to hand deliver your application. Now, that process was just too manual. So when the minister launched the rebranded FLISP as First Home Finance, she also launched, the online application portal. So this portal is accessible to people who want to apply wherever they are. They can apply in the comfort of their homes at a time that is suitable for them. And they basically apply, fill in the application form online and upload required documents. And then our team internally at NHFC will actually do quality control. And then at each stage of the application, or at each milestone rather, there will be an SMS sent to the applicant so as to update the applicant of the stage of the application. Now, I think we have touched on the main challenge of indebtedness. So in this regard, what we are planning to do as NHFC, we are engaging employers. First, government employee housing scheme. We'll be meeting with DPSA because the issue of how do we assist, government employees who are highly indebted, with the rehabilitation, program. So that's going to be very important. But on the same vein, the private sector employees are also highly indebted. So what we will be doing is to engage with employers, both public and private, to see what rehabilitation programs we may need to put in place so that we assist their employees, to deal with aspect of high indebtedness. Because if we're to be able to assist them, for example, say they take consolidation loans and then they are able to sort of reduce their loan repayments, and then if they stick to that program, and then over a period of time, they will be able to be to access home loans and be able to build their decent homes. But importantly, this rehabilitation or financial literacy program to assist with the challenge of indebtedness is not only important for us as NHFC or for government, it's also important for the lenders themselves, because this is the market that they serve. In this regard, the department, Banking Association of South Africa and HFC need to reconvene. I know that 2 years ago, there was an initiative to look at this aspect. So talking to BASA, we're saying that we need to regroup, because the department, on the other hand, I think they were working on the policy on this matter, but we need to put our heads together and see how we can assist the people that we are targeting so that they can access home loans and be able to access adequate housing. We believe over time, Chair, that our interventions should be able to contribute to the uptake of the program as applicants become eligible or qualify for loans. Now, another key point is what is it that we are doing as NHFC to grow the uptake of the program? We have indicated that the game changer really is going to be for the program to be implemented with non-mortgage products. So what we are waiting for is the approval of the implementation guidelines. I'm aware that the acting DG has communicated with the CEO, our CEO, that is, that matter is receiving urgent government attention. This is important, Chairperson, because for us to get into implementation agreement with partners like the banks and other non-bank lenders, they want to see the implementation guidelines because they have a critical role to play in working with us to implement the program. Apart from that, Chair, we are also working with SALGA because the policy is very clear about the role of municipalities, in supporting residents, to access the program. Starting from the planning phase, in the RDPs, housing chapter, but also assisting, households in their areas with the approval of housing plans, and also supporting residents to even apply, via online portal. So in this regard, we had a national webinar in December with SALGA, and then we'll be having provincial workshops with municipalities so that we are clear and they are clear in terms of how we can work together to support the implementation of the program. I've made a point earlier that we'll be working with NHBRC because it is a requirement that the subsidized homes are enrolled with the NHBRC. And I'm happy to say that we're now working on the MOU so that we can be able to in partnership with NHBRC, in this regard. And then we are also busy, Chair, engaging with several lenders in the non-mortgage space. The banks have indicated their keen interest, basically, to participate in providing non-mortgage products, and as well as other non-bank lenders. So we are working on the, if maybe I can indicate that with BASA, we have a memorandum of agreement, which is in the draft stage, just pending the approval of the guidelines, and then we will revisit it and conclude, and then enter into SLAs with the banks. With other non-bank lenders, we have draft MOUs with some who belong to the NHFC stable, and we have identified others that will be engaging so that basically we can be able to increase the uptake of the program. And I'm also happy, Chair, that we have signed already MOU with the PPRA, because as you know, PPRA also has a transformation project in terms of supporting, for example, asset agents which are owned by women and youth. We believe that if these asset agents were to package their sales with the first home finance subsidy, that will increase the uptake and support the growth of their own businesses, but at the same time, enable the reach of the subsidy to the targeted market across, the country. And then with the PSA, we also have a MOU in place for the government employee housing scheme. We had started road shows, which we had to, to suspend when the industrial action, took place in the public sector. So we'll be actually resuscitating those road shows so that we go province by province and raise awareness about the first home finance program and the benefits that it brings, to the government employees. This is a huge market, Chairperson and members. As at the end of January 2023, there were 321,000 members falling within the subsidy, the first home finance, income bracket. We are not saying that all of them, will qualify, because some of them might not be first time, home, buyers or wanting to access their first homes, but the significant portion we believe can benefit, in this regard. And then we'll also be pursuing private sector employees with employer-assisted housing schemes. These are in various sectors. Mining sector is an example. We just signed one MOU with one mining company. We are pursuing others. Financial services, We have an MOU that is currently being reviewed by their legal department. And I know that there are other, without mentioning name, there are other financial services, companies that have indicated an interest, the subsidy assist their members. The retail sector, just to close, we also had them. We have signed an MOU with them, with one leading building merchant. Apart, Chairperson, from the, I would say the objective or ultimate objective of the program to assist, affordable first-time home ownership, there are other positive spin-offs of the program. I think the first one basically is around this program, like other housing program, being an economic, stimulus, because it has, multiply effects both in upstream as well as downstream opportunities. And we also believe that another spin-off is that it's going to lead to the improvement of the quality of housing in rural areas, including eradication of mud houses, I've indicated earlier. And then there's another positive spin-off that we see in terms of skills development. As I've indicated, that working with the NHBRC, it would be requirement that contractors or builders are registered. And then, as we know, in rural areas mainly, many areas have Abo Jamin who are known to build decent houses, but they have no certificate to show. So working with the NHBRC, we'll be targeting those, and they will be sort of enrolled in a skills development program so that they are able to get some form of certification. Similarly, with the building inspectors, talking to NHBRC, we have said there are a number of unemployed graduates out there. So those might have to be, looked at and be trained so that they actually become building inspectors and assist, because the area that we are covering is too large, urban and rural. So yeah, and then on the PPRA, as I've said, we also see a positive spin-offs in terms of supporting the transformation of the estate agent sector and be able to support the business growth, of the estate agents. Those are targeted to women, Black-owned as well as youth. And then now, the last slide basically talks about how do beneficiaries apply for the subsidy. I need to highlight, Chairperson members, that in the past, this was a manually driven process. So what we have done, we have enhanced, our CRM system so that we can enable applicants to apply, online and be able to automate the processing of applications. So that's what we are doing. So what was launched at the ministerial launch, we also shared how can people access the subsidy, or rather the online portal. So I've shown the addresses there. This is what they can type in the web browser and be able to access, the first home finance page and be able to apply, online. So we have observed already that there are significant improvements compared to where we're coming from, even though we know that as NHFC becomes HSDB, it's looking at its own system so that all of our processes, are sort of automated, including this one. So we expect to see even better turnaround times, going forward. Those applicants who struggle, say, to understand, how to do things, on the internet, we have a call center, and our agents there are available to assist, our applicants to fill in the application forms. They take them, handhold them, so to speak, so that they are able to apply online as well. And we believe that over time, the municipalities will as well or assist them in their residents to apply online, those who might not have access to internet. So yeah, that's just a high level a pictorial presentation of the system. So we recommend that the Portfolio Committee notes the progress report on the implementation of first home finance program. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thanks, CE.
Thank you, Chair. That was our input towards this sitting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DM and the entities chairs and CEO of PPRA. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'll now invite members to engage on the presentation. Honorable Powell, can I note hands so that it will help me to manage time, honorable members?
Sorry, my gadget is giving me a problem. I can't raise my hand. Can you also note me?
Okay, you'll be the second honorable members, and then we'll have Honorable Khumalo. Any other hand members? Okay. Honorable Powell.
Thanks, Chairperson. Okay, so thank you for the presentations, and just to the colleagues who presented on FLISP, I think that there's some very good work being done with FLISP now. We're starting to see it pick up momentum, and we very much welcome the new application options for especially people who've traditionally been left out of the formal banking sector and who haven't been able to qualify for mortgage loans. So thank you for the work that's being done on that. My questions are largely directed to the PPRA. First, I'd like to welcome the new acting CEO and wish her luck with the entity, and thank her for the good work that has been done so far in stabilizing and turning that entity around. And then, of course, our thanks to the chairperson of the board, who has acted decisively and with bravery in tackling the challenges that we have as on the benches that I sit, so long been warning and raising our voices about that have been plaguing the entity. And it seems that the chairperson is decisively tackling those issues with the mandate of the minister. So thank you to Steve and to your team. I just wanted to get some clarity. So we understand from what you've told us this morning and from various media reports that the outgoing CEO, Ms. Mamedupi Mushlala, has lost 2 rounds of court battles, and the PPRA is now tied up in litigation at the CCMA. Do we have a timeline for when that process will conclude? The CCMA usually moves quite quickly, and this matter has now dragged on for a number of months. So can we get an undertaking or just a rough timeline as to when this matter is expected to be concluded? And then given the appointment of the acting CEO, the chairperson has noted that formal adverts for the final replacement of the CEO have gone out. Is there no risk of litigation in regards to advertising for that position before the final termination has been upheld in the CCMA? Then in terms of the IT system, again, it's now going on 4 years that we have been asking about the SAP system and the IT system. The PPRA's IT systems don't work. We know that millions of rands have been spent on patches and on various apps that haven't integrated with the back end of the system. What is the PPRA doing to resolve the IT system challenges? And have any recoveries or attempts for financial recoveries been made by the PPRA for awards that were made outside of approved and acceptable supply chain management and treasury regulations, as we know was the case with that app? Then another question, besides the material findings for the PPRA in terms of the audit report, are there any other findings that are threatening another qualified audit, and what is the PPRA's plan to deal with that? Then I engage with a number of oversight bodies in civil society that work with the PPRA, and before I come into these meetings, I always give them an opportunity to send questions in terms of things that their agents are battling with. So some of the questions that I've received in this regard are, how do agents of attorneys register? There are members that are trying to register, for example, 30 agents in the system, but they can't register because they're being asked for firm PINs that don't apply to attorneys registered with the Law Society. So is the PPRA working on putting out a plan for these sorts of agents? Then there's also an issue that's been raised with regards to the format of the FFCs, that there are different status descriptions for status and sector and firms, and it's causing confusion. This is a format, an FFC formatting issue. Will set formats be put out? Because there's a lot of confusion with regards to the different status and sector descriptions on the FFCs. And I've been sent a number of examples of this. There's clarity that is required in that regard. And there's also a lot of documentation that is being asked for with agents from attorney firms trying to register, and these things just go round and round and round and round. I think that what the PPRA needs to do is put templates and formats and processes in place for the different sectors and the different agent statuses, so that if you, for example, are a principal agent, or you are, for example, an agent acting on behalf of an attorney, that there's a very clear diagram and process that you need to follow, because at the moment there's a huge amount of confusion. Those are my questions for now. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable
Mandisa.
Mandisa. Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me welcome the presentation of PPR. I think the initiative that they took with the Auditor General to resolve the challenges that were raised is welcoming, and it gives us a hope that the entity, it will achieve what they want to achieve. But I'm worried. I just want to check, regardless of the two positions that are waiting for the concurrence of the ministry, is there any, whether they are confident that all these positions that they were identified, all those people, those positions will be, those people will commence on the 1st of April, of do they see, foresee any challenges that they might come across, except the two positions that they are just waiting for the concurrency? The last issue on the FLIPS, I just want to check, there's that program that I also welcome, that they say they are going to assist those people who are indebted. But normally that program, it takes more than 5 years. Just imagine if you started to work at the age of 40, then after you will come out of that program at the age of 45, you are approaching 46. Is there any plan that they can maybe minimize the time frame, instead of 5 years to maybe to be 3 years or 2 years and a half, so that people, they are able to buy the properties? Because chances that we get employed at the late stage, so to get houses and finish to start to plan of our lives is getting very late if we are in that program for 5 years. What plan, except the 5 years, are they still going to work with the 5-year plan to assist those people who are indebted to get out in their situation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mandisa. Honorable Kumalo, Honorable Sukhwa, you are noted. I see you've sent something on the chat.
Chair, my hand was up for a long time.
I did. No. Okay. It's Honorable Kumalo now, Honorable Sukhwa, because he says the gadget has got a problem, and then Honorable Zeki, Honorable Malamat.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. Just maybe echo the previous two members, commend the entities, the work that they're doing towards resolve the AG findings. We definitely welcome that, and maybe just a comment so to ensure that those recommendations are carried through year after year, so that we don't find ourselves in the same situation. The question, Chair, maybe that I wanted to find out around the one audit finding related administrative findings, and around, non-compliance of recruitment processes. I just wonder if there's been any, if this is the case in point where the CEO is involved, or there's been other disciplinary or consequence management in as far as that non-compliance was concerned. And then I also want to find out around the first home finance. I think obviously the positives that were mentioned in the presentations are encouraging in terms of us communicating to constituents out there. But I want to find out perhaps over and above the entity making or partnering up with employers. I mean, that is obviously welcome, but I do anticipate that there might be a challenge in, regarding accessing or being in touch with every employer that there is in South Africa. So I wanted to find out also, Chairperson, if there were any platforms for, regular citizens, perhaps, which are working for employers that perhaps the department hadn't partnered up, that they can. I heard that there's online applications and stuff. So perhaps if we can get information around how citizens can access, or what that website is. And also wanted to find out, Chair, this is available to informal business players. Are they included, or is this only available to formally employed or people in the formal work sector, so to speak? I wanted to find out the timeframes from application to a person receiving the finance. If we can just maybe get an idea of that, and also find out if the entity would consider doing public education around, because a lot of people are out there, could use such support and they are not aware of. So I'm just wondering if there is a possibility of partnering up even with public reps, municipalities, to ensure that such programs are reaching, the target market. I think I'll stop there. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Sefrai. Honorable Sefrai. Let's pass Honorable Zeki.
Chair, thank you very much. Maybe taking from what Member Khumalo is saying, because this mainly the target is for those people that could pay for their houses, we could also take this public education to organize labor in the form of COSATU, FEDUSA, and the rest, so that they can be aware of this kind of an issue. The other one, like in the rural area, it seems as if this will be, if I understand it well, it will be like a direct loan, because in the rural areas, we don't normally have stands. We only have the letters from the chief of that communal ownership. I just want to clarify, how is what do you call the financial language in terms of what we could call collateral if someone is not paying, or it will be regarded as a grant or something. The other question is that making an example, TM, on the launch day, I think CEO, the company that is doing the work on behalf of government there is Cosmopolitan, that processes the application and the like. Now, Cosmopolitan is a private institution. They do whatever they do for profit. if the bank charges me an interest rate of 13%, if I go direct to the bank, how much is Cosmopolitan benefiting on that interest? Is Cosmopolitan having maybe a 2% or a 3% more than what the bank would charge me when I go to the bank direct? Or because Cosmopolitan is giving business to the banks, they don't normally charge an extra interest, a markup, what you call a markup for their business when they link me with the banks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chris.
Thank you, Chair. Let me also take this opportunity, welcome the report. To start with the first one is very impressed on the basis that there are time frames to ensure that all the vacant posts are filled and are filled within that time frame, so to assist the work. Unlike where we will be told that it's in progress, then there are no time frame. It means in this case, we'll be able to hold whoever accountable should that time come and pass and those vacants are not filled. The other thing is to ensure that there is work that is not destabilized, especially if such executive positions are not filled. I think there is a progress, Comrade Chair. We just need to ensure we support them. The second one, Comrade, is a very good initiative that we must really applaud, especially when it shall be dealing with those that were previously disadvantaged to can have shelter even though that they are working. Not far from what Comrade Seki was doing, the awareness at the rural provinces, taking into account the question of the PTO that will normally be required and granted by the traditional leaders. Now, we must know that normally the payment period of the mortgage point is 20 years. Is there any attempt to try and reduce the repayment duration so that the 20 years all of us were in agreement that is too much? And there is life even beyond that, and the very same house will also need some other things in the form of furniture. But one will want to know if there's any attempt to can reduce that duration so that this duration is not far from the days that I'll be on earth and the days that I'll be working. Chair, allow me to stop there with notion that says we really welcome the good work of the two presentation. We are noting everything that is in progress. We wish them the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chris. Honorable Sifai, are you still struggling? Honorable Sifai. We're jumping you. I think you should write it on the chat. Then they'll respond on your questions as they respond. Thank you very much, honorable members, DM and your team.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Chairperson. Chair, good morning. Good morning, Honorable Sifai. I wanted to jump you because I've been calling you. Proceed, ma. Sorry, DM.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I apologize to the committee. I was on my way from the airport and many things have happened on the way. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the presentations made, more especially the FLIPS presentation. Just one question, Chair. If the question has been asked, my apology. On the program performance, in terms of the value and the disbursement, I may have missed mechanisms to really maximize the program for the new people to own and new people to come in the program. I just want to check if they have a program of mobilizing the new employees and the old ones for creating an awareness through the unions and pamphleting in the workplace. Because when you are new, sometimes you don't understand many other processes. But if there's some engagements within the unions where the entity presents its programs, maybe monthly, that awareness could be effective for them to participate in the program. But I do want to appreciate the progress that you have made in terms of targets and achieving the targets. It's not an easy program, but I think they have moved from a history to where they are today. I just want to get that clarity, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kwai. GM, as your team, as you're responding, can I request that it's either the CEO or the program manager to just to elaborate what are these, what is it that they are going to do with indebted people to help them to get the houses? I've missed that. And I'll have a follow-up question after understanding what they're saying. Can I hand it over to you, GM, and your team?
Thank you very much, Chair and the members of the portfolio. A lot of work has gone into turning things around at PPRA and revamping FLISP. We appreciate the acknowledgement by members of the portfolio committee. We also note the comments and proposals made by the members. I think they can make our work very easy, entities, if they could get this, do the same what these two entities are doing. And we hope that all entities will keep up the momentum. I'm trying to say I agree with you with what they've done, and questions are straightforward, Chair, and directed to entities. Without wasting time, Chair, let me allow them to respond. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dion, for the opportunity once again. This is Stephen from the PPRA. I will only deal with one issue and then allow the acting CEO to deal with the rest of the questions. But let me first acknowledge and appreciate the comments that are made by the honorable members of the committee towards the work that we do. It's really appreciated, and it's encouraging. It's only a challenge to us that we must keep up the momentum and continue to do good and communicate the good that we're doing, so that we are not at loggerheads with the committee. So we truly appreciate the comments that you have made. The question around the CCMA matter and how long it may or it's likely to take and whether it will not delay processes, unfortunately it's not an answer that we can truly provide to the committee, and that is mainly because we are not in control of when the follow-up dates at the CCMA will be. We know that the matter is set down for April, and we are going to be appearing there. I must perhaps mention, for the sake of the record, that the major challenge that we are facing at the CCMA is that each time when we arrive, the former CEO brings in new attorneys and there are new delays. So we have now interacted with approximately 5 sets of attorneys. And each time the new set of attorney comes in, we have got to provide documentation, processes have got to be stalled a bit, and which led us to arriving at the conclusion that perhaps the termination is the best, because there is no determination to deal with the hearing to the fullest extent. So we don't know what to anticipate in the next round of sittings. However, I want to emphasize, as the board, we have since resolved to proceed and advertise, because in our view, we have no relationship with the erstwhile CEO as employer-employee anymore. This relationship was terminated in December last year. It was challenged at the Labour Court on urgent basis. It was dismissed. The decision was not overturned. It was challenged yet again this year at the Labour Court, and again, the decision still remains intact. So the last leg that we are left with is the leg that deals with the challenge at the CCMA. However, our attitude is that we are proceeding after taking legal advice with the advertising and recruitment of, for the new CEO. So the risk might be there, but according to the legal advice, we are home and dry, according to the legal advice that we have received. So we'll see how things really unfold. The last part of the questions that were asked by the members in relation to what I want to deal with has to do with the confidence that we have insofar as the commencement dates for the new recruits. And we must emphasize that we are very confident. And even for the concurrence that we have requested, the issue is upon our shoulders as the board to explain ourselves to the minister and to satisfy her that indeed we have followed the process that we are supposed to follow, and that the decision that we are purporting to take will not come back to bite us. So it's only that stage that is really remaining. The minister has replied to us. We just need to appear before her and then explain and see. And the outcome may be, yes, I agree, concurrence is granted, or no, I don't agree, go and fix 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we are now up to the necessary speed. And whether we are receiving the concurrence or we don't receive the concurrence, we don't foresee any further delays because the worst has passed. As I said earlier on, the organizational design is now approved. We have sort of gone through the most of the recruitment processes, so we might have to do this and that to arrive at the logical conclusion of the matter. So we are quite confident that the rest of the executive positions, they will commence within the date and the time frames that we have indicated the committee. Letters of offers have been given to the prospective employees. So we should be able to have them reporting for duty on the 1st of April. Thank you very much. I will then hand over to the acting CE to deal with the rest of the questions, including the ERP and the other issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. And thank you for honorable members for all the questions that you posed. I apologize in advance because I was not able to capture everyone's name, but I will answer the questions in sequence. The first set of questions came from Honorable Powell. I will deal with the issue of the IT systems. Honorable Powell, when I arrived on the 1st of February, one of the things that I thought would be a quick win for the entity was procuring an ERP system via the transversal contract or RT15 through National Treasury. But I quickly learned that out of the transversal contracts, especially when it comes to IT related procurements, it's only for like cell phones, IT systems, but not an ERP system. So just smaller. So in order for us to adhere with proper SCM processes, we had to obviously relook, and we are finalizing the specifications, and that system will be procured in the near future. And also we wanted to ensure that proper IT diagnostic was done in order of, instead of us just, taking anybody who came through and said they can solve all our problems. So we just wanted to ensure that we due diligence is done, and proper SCM and PFA MA regulations are adhered to. And then the second follow-up question was around the rural brands. I think that's what you are alluding to. So this is the app that was created, for lack of a better term, but it was not fit for purpose. So this was an app that was created, and it was approved by the former management, and the amount of 1 million was paid towards this app. So what we have done to ensure that there is financial recovery, 3 weeks ago, we did appoint an attorney. Well, one, Rural Brands IP holder did issue us with summons. We have since responded to those summons, saying that, we will defend, because we are of the view that the app is not fit for purpose. And then secondly, we did a counter, I think it's a counter claim. I apologize, members, I'm not a legal mind, for us to be able to recoup what we had paid them, because we believe that it was paid in error, and they shouldn't have been paid, because the app does not meet the standards, nor does it cater in issuing FFCs. The second set of questions was around the other findings. They are not material, but AG obviously did highlight them in the last financial year. And I won't go through all of them, but just to name a few. One was around the provision of performance bonuses that were inappropriately recognized as a provision in our books. During the audit, the AG noted that management recognized a provision for performance bonuses during the current financial year, and management recognized performance bonuses without having done a proper assessment on whether they meet the recognition criteria. This one will not constitute in a material finding, and I am confident that it will actually fall away this year, for various reasons. The board, number one, did not approve the bonuses last year, and for the sole reasons that the entity did not have performance evaluations, which we believe that it's the first criteria. If you're going to give a bonus, you're going to give a bonus based on performance. But if there's no set of criteria that is stipulated prior, then what are we giving the bonuses based on? The second one is around the inventory of the then EAB. There was no proper safeguarding of assets. AG alluded that, air conditioners were bought, for example, and also laptops were bought, but they were just kept in an unsafe area.
but there's since been an undisclosed, or obviously I know, and then the people who are responsible know where is this room that houses all the company's assets. So this is another one that I don't think will make it to the findings, because we have mitigated that finding. Another major one was that policies were not reviewed in the current year, but we've made strides in this regard, that since the EAB to moving from EAB to PPRA, the entity was still using EAB related policies, but we have since done an internal workshop review of all policies to ensure that, number one, they are aligned to the legislation, and secondly, that they are now reflect obviously the views of the PPRA. And then there will be a workshop where we are presenting all these policies to the board. They did go through the various board subcommittees for review and input, and amendments were done where needed, but now the board will approve them. So the date for this workshop is on the 24th, which is on Friday. So all the critical and a bulk of the PPRA policies will be, well, hopefully the board will approve. They will be approved before the end of the financial year. And then, Honorable Powell, the other findings were around inadequate cyber incident management, and also other IT related issues. But this is an issue that we strongly are confident that all these issues will be resolved with the starting of CIO, who is also coming on board, because this is one role that was vacant for many, many years within the entity. So the highest level in that department was an IT manager, and then also the issues around just capacitating that department, which we have since done. So we were doing two parallel recruitment processes. So the executive ones, obviously, which is what we highlighted today, but then also just for management and lower levels positions, we have been recruiting. So just to ensure that when the executives come, they have a team that will help them obviously facilitate their jobs, so that we have an efficiently running entity. The other question was around the attorneys, the agents of attorneys, how they register. Excuse me. The question that you raised is you rightfully posed it. The Act requires us to register attorney agents. That is what we call them. And issue them with a registration certificate, which is section 47, subsection 2. And in the past, the entity was erroneously issuing them with FFCs, but since December of last year, we have been issuing these attorney agents with a registration certificate as required by the Act. The following question was around the format of the FFC. Member Powell, this one is highlighted in Regulations 22 of the Act. So the difference between this current FFC and the previous one, obviously this one, in the previous dispensation, FFCs needed to stipulate whether you are a candidate estate agent or an intern estate agent, which is what we used to refer them to, or whether you are a principal agent, right? But under the new dispensation, we are not required to do that. All the FFCs just need to note you're a practitioner. And then there's a section that needs to say whether you are not a bond originator, an auctioneer, or whether you are in the real estate section, or whether you are a managing agent. And I know when the Act came into action last year, the entity was still issuing these FFCs with the designations, whether you are a candidate practitioner, but we have since rectified that. But I do welcome the suggestion that you gave that now we must, maybe we need to give a clear diagram of a registration path of all these sectors, because we've had several consultations where we are discussing with different subsectors in the sector on obviously the educational standards. So I will take it up with management that we then give a clear path for SAD agents in all the other 12 subsectors. So thank you for that. The second speaker, I think this one, the chairperson already answered. It was around the commencement of the executives and the vacancies. This one was addressed. And then the third speaker was asking around whether there was any consequence management around the recruitment process previously. If I understood your question correctly, so remember some of the issues that were highlighted in the forensic investigation was the irregular appointments of some of the employees of the PPRA or EAB then. So most of these employees are currently undergoing DC processes, and we are looking to hopefully finalize that process in the near future. The DC processes started in February, and I believe the last date is around the 24th of April, given that obviously everybody shows up to these DC processes and not derail or delay the process further. So that's what the entity is doing to ensure that there is consequence management. The fifth speaker, okay, that was just a comment, and thank you for the vote of confidence. I believe I've covered all the questions, Chairperson. Thank you so much. Thank you, members.
Thank you to the PPRA. I think, you know, for all the questions that were posed to the NHFC, I'm going to kick off just addressing the questions, you know, around what we are doing to basically make, you know, the First Home Finance Programme well known both to the public as well as amongst unions. It was Honourables Khumalo, Tseki, and Sishwai that posed, you know, this question around what we are doing, you know, to ensure that, you know, the public knows about this program, both from the point of view of, obviously, I think in the case of Honourable Tseki, he made the comment that we need to partner with the unions as well as Honourable Sishwai. And I think with respect to that particular suggestion, we are very, very open and we will definitely take it on board, partnering with the unions and making sure that, you know, we go and present, you know, to the members, not only at the union level, but also at the federation level. I think that's a very good one, and one that we also, you know, it's guidance that we did receive at the study group meeting that was held yesterday. Just with respect to what our current plans are, I think, you know, my colleague, Mr. Fagazi, already alluded to the MOU that we have in place with the PPRA, just with respect to, you know, engaging with estate agents and ensuring that they act as a, you know, as a channel for us to spread the word among their client base. But also from our perspective, we will definitely be embarking on a national campaign utilizing all, you know, media platforms. So we will rely on social media. We will use above the line advertising, you know, but obviously methods that are going to be cost effective, like radio. You know, we are already planning internally to take the program to the various municipalities nationally, because part of what was again highlighted in Mr. Fagazi's section of the presentation was that we are also going to be placing reliance on municipalities to, you know, to assist the members of the general public that fall obviously within their jurisdictions to apply, to utilize the portal. to route their applications. Over and above that, I think we are already going to engage in workshops with various parties just to ensure that, public awareness of this First Home Finance Program, it becomes, it has to become a household name. And that is really our overall objective with it. So that will definitely be addressed. And then if I'm just to respond to the specific question that Honorable Teki also asked around the developers, and he specifically mentioned Cosmopolitan and mentioned the fact that we do also rely on developers, to assist, people that want to apply for home loans, in their specific developments. To also, assist them with respect to applying for the subsidy as well. In the case of the Cosmopolitan development, they are a shining example in terms of the partnership that we've put in place with the private sector in this regard. And the question was specifically around whether or not they get to benefit from the interest rate that gets charged to home loan applicants. And my answer to that, Honorable Cheki, is that, developers, their main interest is selling the homes, right? So once a home loan applicant has qualified for a home loan, they get paid their money, right? And then the applicant then owes the bank. But the process of vetting the risk profile of an applicant, that vests within the bank, and their own internal risk processes and credit processes. That is what then informs what interest rate the end beneficiary will be charged. So the developers themselves, I would say, hand in heart, that they stand to not benefit anything with respect to, the interests that get charged to the members. And just to further, because we were also asked a question yesterday around whether these developers, the people that assist the intermediaries that we rely on to assist the beneficiaries of this program, with the application process itself, whether they actually get to benefit anything from the subsidy. And again, the answer to that was a definitive no, because the way that we route the payments, it's either we will pay the bank directly that is granting the mortgage, or the payments will be routed through the lawyers in instances where, deposits have got to be made, towards facilitating the access to the mortgage. And then the last question that I'm going to respond to came from Honorable Malemache around efforts to reduce the 20-year repayment period for mortgages. And again, I think the NHFC's abilities with respect to making any changes with respect to that are limited, because currently we are not the grantors of those mortgages. That is really the domain of the banks at the present moment. However, obviously, we are aware that the NHFC will be migrating to becoming the Human Settlements Development Bank. And to the extent that in that new business model, we will be allowed to offer mortgages directly to the public. If our mandate is going to allow us to do that, then I think it would be advisable, for the HSDB to then obviously grant mortgages that are more competitively priced than what the general public currently gets from your commercial banks. And I think it is in us basically looking at that specific business model where we cannot see whether we can make some concessions, firstly around the interest rates that we get to charge to the general public, but secondly, around the repayment periods, that we will grant the loans on the back of. I think that's all I'm going to respond to for now, and then I'm going to hand over to Mr. Fagazi to address the rest of the questions and comments. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, CE. Thank you, Chairperson and members, for the questions and comments you have made. First, let me acknowledge the positive comments from Honorable Powell. Thank you very much. And then to respond to Honorable Makesini, I think on the question of debt rehabilitation, I think what we need to do is to have a two-pronged strategy. The first one has to be financial literacy program coupled with consumer education, because as the adage goes, prevention is better than cure. In other words, we need to target, potential first home finance beneficiaries before they become indebted. So that is why our role as NHFC, the role of the department, the role of BASA and the banks and other lenders becomes critical, because this creates a win-win situation for all the parties. But unfortunately, as the stats show that we shared with the committee, the horse has already bolted in many instances. Many employees, whether in the private or public sector, are already highly indebted. So I think that's why Honorable Makesini is raising the concern about, the 5-year period. So I think on this one, what we need to recognize is that when lending takes place, it happens within the context of the National Credit Act, and there is also a debt counseling provided there. So, but what we are planning to do is to work with the employers, both in the public and private sector, so that we can look at programs that we can put in place to alleviate the pain that the highly indebted, employees are already experiencing, so that they can then be able to, sort out their situation. One of the mechanisms of doing that is that if, say, you have 5 loans, and if you put the loan repayments per month for each, it becomes unaffordable, and then you default, and then you go deeper, into debt. So can we look at a situation where you can get a lender who can provide a consolidation loan, so that you pull together all these loans, you settle, your creditors, and then on monthly basis, you pay an affordable, installment to settle that loan. Because what will that then do? It will actually make you lighter in terms of indebtedness. But the risk, again, with that is that some people who go into debt, what we call consolidation, then they actually become lighter and then take other loans which are not housing related. So that's why this has to be a partnership with the other parties, and including the employees themselves. So, because another thing is going to be the quantum of the debt that you owe, which is going to determine the period during which you can settle that debt and be able to take a housing loan. So the devil will be in the detail when we actually put together this program with the parties that I've referred to. And then going to Dr. Kumayo, I think there was a question about, I'll touch on those that my CE has not responded to. The informal business players, certainly they will qualify for the program because they can produce evidence of income, and then we can look into that. And certainly they are also, I would say, eligible, to qualify for the subsidy, subject to other qualifying criteria. And then the issue of the timelines, it depends, because some people will be actually approved for a subsidy when they are buying off plan. That is before the house is actually built. So, and then you find that the flow of funds will happen much at a later stage. That happens. But if you look at the revised policy, it allows us that once we have approved subsidy, and then that is accompanied by a loan from a lender, and then we disperse to that lender, so that that lender can actually even bring even more efficiencies in terms of paying the necessary service providers. So I think let me take another question from Honorable Tseki about rural areas, no collateral. My response to that honorable member is that certainly in rural areas, there's no collateral, when you take a loan. That is why in most cases, people in rural areas will take unsecured home loans. And as I've indicated, NHFC has that product that is provided by the intermediaries that have been approved by our board, credit and investment committee, and the board. So they are our partners, and many of them have been offering these loans in rural areas, without any collateral. So what the subsidy will then do, it will just augment, so to speak, the loan that people are already accessing, so that they can, achieve their housing loans much quicker and affordably. But certainly there's no collateral. So what the lenders have to do, though, is that when they grant a loan, they do a thorough credit assessment as required by the National Credit Act and regulations. So I think there is no risk there. And then I think linked to that, the point raised by Mr. Honorable Malemacha, I think my CE has responded to that, partially talk about mortgage. But I think if you are concerned, honorable member, is around rural areas that people in rural areas might be taking these loans and try to owing the lenders for 20 years. It won't happen in rural areas. The reason for that is because, as I've said, people in rural areas take unsecured home loans, and the repayment period is around 3 years. I know that some lenders go up to 5 years, depending on the loan size that the borrower would have taken. But as I've said, NHFC is already playing in this space. We haven't seen any borrower from rural area owing a bank for over 20 years. And as I've said, also the advantage for the borrowers in rural areas is that, they don't have to give any collateral. There have been instances where people, will lose jobs, and, the advantage again, I would say that when they lose jobs, they engage with their lenders to actually present them in their situation. And we haven't seen any homes being retaken or being sort of repossessed, by the lenders. So that risk there is in rural areas is not there at all. So I'm not sure whether I've covered the questions that my CE left for me. If I have missed that, I apologize. But I think I also responded to the question that was raised by Honorable Chair Sminya on indebtedness. I dealt with that when I was responding to the question that was raised by, excuse me, by Honorable Maketsini. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
DM and the department, anything from your side?
Chair, unless there are questions of follow-up, I just want to check whether there are no follow-ups, then I'll respond to follow-ups. Otherwise, I think she has touched all the questions. But indeed, Chair, maybe the question will be last night, what they've raised. Minister was going to go. She's in London. She left this morning or yesterday. So she always panics and then say, let's call all these people virtually, because knowing that she's not going to be here, we called them last night virtually to present to us. And because the portfolio committee always say, what is your role? Do you monitor these people before they come here? So what we always do before they come, we have our own virtual meeting, which is myself, the minister, and the DG, to correct whatever. If we have questions of clarity, we say to them, go back, do this, because we don't want anything because you advise us all the time as ministry, that your role is to check whether these people are doing right things or not. Maybe we also contributed to their presentations, because the questions that you asked last year and also the Auditor General's questions were answered, but we also want to emphasize, because sometimes they write one question, they write one line without explaining. Then we will say, the best thing is to don't wait until members ask questions. Just narrate everything and say this is how it goes. So that is our role that we always do, because we took that from you, members of parliament, that don't bring people here without you monitoring them. So we always do that before they come. But Chair, I think if there's any follow-up question, I will definitely, go back, and we are going to make follow-up answers to the follow-ups. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Tia. Members, I see their hands. Honorable Malik, is it the legacy hands or Honorable Malimata?
No, it's a legacy hand, Chair. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. Honorable Howell, is it a follow-up question?
Yes, Chair, it is a follow-up question. I just wanted to find out about the PPRA's new HR policy, where the delegations for the appointment of the C-suite and senior staff lie, if it is with the CEO or the acting CEO, or if it's with the board. I know that there is a new HR policy, and I just want to make sure that or understand the delegations in terms of the appointment of senior staff member. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Powell. Can we get the response or acting CEO?
Yes, thank you very much.
No, the chair, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
The chairpersons must respond to the question.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me start by saying that the Property Practitioners Act is quite clear on the delegations. So the recruitment of the C-suite lies with the CEO. However, it is done within the ambit of the further directives in the policy and the shareholders' compact. So whilst the CEO is the employer at the end of the day, she does so in consultation with the board, and she does so in consultation and concurrence with the minister. And in terms of the shareholders' compact, there are mainly 3 positions that are affected. That is the CE and the CFO and the COO. We are still dealing with the process of correcting for the inclusion of the other C-suite positions into the compact agreement. It has always been the policy of the PPRA that the CE recruits everybody that reports to her. However, that is done in consultation with the board, and that has not necessarily changed as far as I am concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honorable members, that was the response of the issues that were raised on the presentation. I'll then take opportunity to thank everybody that came into the meeting, and we appreciate the work that has been done. Though it's not necessary to praise the fish when its role is to swim, and praise it for swimming. We expect you to do the good work always, and this progress indeed must take us forward. We should not regress. We should actually strengthen the loopholes that we have, so that come annual report, we'll get a better outcome of the entities and the department. And I want to thank everybody for attending the meeting. 3M, you have anything for I'm closing the meeting. because there were no follow-up questions that were not outstanding.
Chair, maybe before the DM, can you assist, I don't know whether it's yourself, the announcement of next week program for the sites visit?
Yes, okay. No, thank you, Honorable Teki. Let's allow DM to say something, and then we release those that has to be released. Members of the committee can remain.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. As previously alluded to, we are encouraged by your comments and inputs. Thank you for effective oversight, Chair. Your proposal, your always, all the time, your advisory with and everything that you say to us, we are growing because of you. I think the entities have included the presentation, responded to questions posed and clarified issues. There's only one thing that I would like to raise, Chair. My wish and Honorable Powell is that we were, both of us, in trouble by the CEO of PPRA. Were insulted in the meeting. Maybe they don't know the nuance. There was too much noise, but we wish her good luck. And thank you so much. I think I must raise it because I felt undermined the day I was here with the CEO at the time that the CEO was presenting, because she was undermining all of us. But I wish her good luck. And I want to thank everyone in the meeting. I want to thank you particularly for your patience. Sometimes we don't do what you tell us to do. Sometimes we don't do the right things, and you always, all of you, have patience of forgiving us in the mistakes that we do. Thank you very much, Chair and the team.
Thank you very much. You are released, DM and your team. Koleswa.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Chair. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
Hello, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, let's take members through the oversight visit for next week.
Thank you,
As I've
Chairperson.
let me just indicate that the Northern Cape and the Northwest oversight is continuing, and then Koleswa will brief us on the process. But I just want to indicate that I will not be joining you in Northern Cape because of Parliament has organized the chairperson's workshops, and but I'll join you in Northwest. Honorable Malatsi will lead the delegation to Northern Cape. Proceed, Koleswa.
Thank you, Chairperson. As you already alluded to the fact that you will be joining us in Northwest, Mr. Malachi will be leading the delegation. The application has been approved, and we are busy with the procurement of with the processes of tickets and the hotel accommodation. The NOMDU has, I think, has managed to get all the members who are traveling from their destination, from where they will be departing and where they will be going back to after the oversight. That information will be the bookings, the confirmation will be communicated during the week, I think before Friday. All the members that will be attending the oversight have been they confirmed already, and we are booking for them. Also, the MEC in the Northern Cape has indicated that he has a meeting in the morning of Monday. Therefore, the meeting will start at 1, not at 9. That is the only change that I am having, Chairperson. Otherwise, the Northwest is fine so far. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Koliswa. Members, that is the detail of the oversight visit. Any question?
No, thank you,
No
Chair.
question.
We will raise any other issue of logistics direct with Koliswa. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, honorable members. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.